Hello dear friends. On the Melonfonk channel, in this video you and I will look at the evolution of updates in Melon Playground. Welcome to the world of traveling from the very first version, 0.1 Human Playground, to our current updates version of the game. And guys, I have great news for you. We are launching with my friends an incredible contest for 5,000 MELS. You heard me, 5,000 MELS. And to get this freebie, you need to fulfill very simple conditions, guys. All you have to do is subscribe to my channel, put a like, write a comment. All the conditions will be in the attached comment. Well, we will summarize the results on May 25th. That's when you can get 5,000 MELS for free. Also, I want to say a huge thank you to these guys for writing cool comments. And if you want to be in my next video, just follow the terms of the contest. It's very simple. Well, you've had everything for your time and enjoy your viewing. Melon Playground is a whole era and community that unites millions of people. And few people realize that it all started with a very simple sandbox, where there was only a man and a blue background. But time passed. From a small game, Melon Playground has grown into a whole world of crazy experiments. Welcome to a journey through the updates from 0.1 to 28.6 to the most current version. 0.1 is the beta version that was classified for a long time, and only the very, very oldies knew about it. The version that started the whole journey. Blue test map, a man, and a couple of primitive objects. It didn't seem like a big deal, but it was then that something we would come to love with all our souls was born. The mechanics were simple, the interface minimalistic, but that was the magic of it. This version is like the first page of the diary, which was like a draft page from a book, torn out and burned in a fire. Version 1.8, the first weapon in the birth of experiments. In the first version of 1.8, everything changed. This is now the very first and available update that we can touch and see with our own eyes. We added cold weapons, swords, clubs, knives. We got our first taste of real experimentation, hits, damage, physics, interaction with bodies. All this stuff kept us hooked for hours. It was the first time we'd ever seen such a thing on a phone. The game turned into a testing ground for tests, chaos, and fun. And most importantly, it was the first clone of the successful People Playground game. For a long time, version 1.8 was considered the most stable and up-to-date at the time. Subsequent updates essentially did not make such an impression, and it seemed like something not real. The next step was basically version 3.4, the advent of syringes, and the beginning of essentially a new era. Syringes were a new twist. Suddenly you could change the properties of living NPCs, slow them down, speed them up, poison them. This added another facet to the game. Now we were not just destroying, but healing, torturing, experimenting as best we could, like the truest mad scientists. This is where the alchemy of Melon Playground began, and this update essentially gave the first boost to Melon Playground's popularity. Version 4.0, Pumpkin, the first alternative to Melon. The appearance of Pumpkin was something really unexpected. It was the first non-Melon in the game, and maybe the first attempt to add some character. We started to think up new stories. What if Pumpkin is Melon's main opponent, or maybe a brother, or maybe it's an alien, or just a monster? So a new universe was born. The first bit of narrative and character and individuality, which of course we couldn't help but enjoy. Version 5.0 and 5.1 were already bestsellers. And this was facilitated by Turbo, a popular YouTuber who made a video about Melon Playground. And already in version 5.0 in the main menu, there is an inscription of Turbo's channel and a special thanks to this YouTuber for the fact that he popularized this project, in fact giving a boost to the whole community. Well, the developers, in my opinion, did not fail. And there was a lot of interesting things in updates 5.0 and 5.1. And this update, you could say, became epical. They added one more NPS in 5.1 Corn. And now there were already 3 NPs in Melon Playground. They added a railgun, an ice staff, and many new weapons. At the same time, they added new syringes such as the virus. Christmas items, snowmen, presents, and Christmas clothes were also added for the first time. Honestly, at that time for me, it was like the sun was shining brighter and the grass was much greener. This version came to symbolize freedom. You could do anything from silly things to the apocalypse. Version 7.0 is a medical revolution. For the first time, a medical section was added. This section included items such as the splint, bandage, and heart monitor. Yes, the items were few in number, but these items are very iconic and essentially pioneered the medical sections that are still in the game today. This opened up a whole genre of role-playing games within the sandbox. We started saving, healing, revitalizing. Medics and scientists made sense. Melon Playground was in stagnant mode for a while after this update, and there were no meaningful updates after the 7.0 update for a very long time. Everything changed with the release of Update 10.0, which is actually revolutionary. You could say that this is the beginning of a new era. In this update, there are simply a lot of items that are in demand, and most importantly, really useful. That is, a few years ago an update was released that is still relevant today, and this shows how much it brought new things to the game. For the first time, there were very important mechanisms such as buttons, levers, propellers, or rangers. The iconic atomic and Monroe bombs were also added, which are the most powerful so far in the game, and there were a lot of minor additions and changes that also brought a lot of new things to the game. Update 10.0 turned the game into a full arsenal of possibilities, where every button could be the last button for the entire map. Version 13.0 is a customization of everything. With Update 13.0, we felt like real creators for the first time. A weapon editor, the ability to change item parameters, layer switching, and body rot. It's not just an add-on, it's a freedom tool. Accessories like goggles and bandanas gave uniqueness and charisma to the game. And post in the comments, what version did you start playing Melon Playground with? Let's see how many olds I have on my channel. Update 14.0 is an ambient and environment update. The game has started to sound the way it should. The sounds of rain, the rustle of leaves, and most importantly, the voting system. For the first time in 14.0 we have voting, which set the trend of the update. The community had choice for the first time and it changed the dynamics of development. We weren't just playing anymore. We became part of its evolution. Adding parachutes and effect syringes, these are all details, but they made the game truly come alive. But also the developers were fixing their mistakes. For example, they brought back the medicine section, which they removed in one of the middle updates, which of course was met positively by the audience. Version 15.0 Jeep and Sport. New Horizons. A new transportation category has finally been added to the game. The first Jeep and even Sport Inventare have been added to Melon Playground. The game started out as something where you could build not only a violent scene, but also your own fun mini story. From chases to sports battles, everything has literally become possible. Well, meet the first winner of the vote, Jeep. It's the first transportation in the game that is still relevant, and the 15.0 update is one of the most memorable in my memory. But such success of the game, and attracted enemies and competitors who essentially wanted to destroy the game and the creator. Update January 15th, 100 added robots and removed all living things. But this happened for a reason, as Melon Playground essentially sued and destroyed the name of the game. It was after the 15.1.100 update that Melon Playground is now called Melon Sandbox instead of Melon Playground in the Play Market. The courts went on for a long time and Melon Playground kept disappearing from the Play Market. Periodically it was removed and brought back, and each time there were problems. For example, in 15.1.100, where they removed absolutely all the NPCs and brought back robots, and the audience met it just terrible. For some reason, the blue interface appeared instead of the white one we were used to, and everything really smelled like failure, and it did, despite the fact that the atmosphere in the game was really oppressive due to the fact that the audience was hating literally every inch of the game, but this hating also brought its advantages. It gave a huge boost to the audience. Everyone was discussing 15.100 also, because of its failure. This update is a catharsis, temporary but telling. The developers realized that they made a mistake. Maybe they released just the wrong version. And sometime later, the update 15.1.04 was released. This is the return of the favorites. The cries of the fans were heard. The NPCs returned. And the most common melons, together with the robot, began to unite all the characters. There was a tab for mods, and the game changed its name to Melon's Inbox. The logs in the market also changed. And we felt at home again. It's a real resonance. Well, and as for me, 15.0 is the golden mean of updates. It's like a generation change and a new one, a change of approach, and it's not all bad. All that was before the 15.0 update. I remember with warmth. Updates were released often, somewhere there were bugs, somewhere there were successes. But still, after 15.0, everything changed. The approach to updates became more tactful, they became precise, correct, and most importantly, systematic. Voting set the vector, and we determined the mechanics. everything became very simple, and at the same time insanely global, because everything that will be after will be just on another level. Update 16.0, lasers and armored personnel carriers. For the first time an APC was added, as well as a new scooter. A new item from the vote was added, and it is a laser. Here's a new mechanics that has never been in the game before. They also added a very convenient autosave, which is still an indispensable part of the saves. In this version, everything became even bigger: new cars, laser weapons, autosaves, and it is not just a sandbox, but a full-fledged engineering simulator. Voting continued, the game grew in breadth and depth. Since then, updates became even less frequent. Update 17.0, light, atmosphere, and coziness, candles, garlands, pumpkin with a glowing mouth. All this gave the map mood. Atmosphere became a separate tool. Now you could build cozy houses, set up a nice lamp lighting, and for this serve just great lamps, Edinson. And with the help of candles, you could create actually very scary pictures. Well, and adorn the whole affair, of course, was the vote winner, the pinball gun, which is still a unique mechanic. Update 17.0 seemed really peak, but it was not, and the developers actually found something to surprise us. And Update 18.0, the new workshop, is coming out. The developers gave us the opportunity to never get bored in the game. They gave us endless content, and they also gave us the opportunities to earn, because so far the authors are getting huge profits from their works in the workshop. And the most talented authors have already taken their place among the honorable players in the lovely playground. The game turned 2 years old, and added fireworks and a small cake, so that each of you can clear the atmosphere of celebration. Then comes one of the most popular updates, Update 18.5, the addition of the vacuum cleaner and new physics that actually essentially turned the game around. The game became kind of pleasantly heavy, meaning all items felt weighty, and the vacuum cleaner added new mechanics that seemed insanely unique and interesting at the time. Well, a new item was added, the contraption spooner. With this item we can still spoon items with a certain intensity and purity. So this update is extremely interesting and useful, although it is interim. Version 19.0, New World, Desert and Cactus, buses, desert, plus Halloween costumes. The game expanded geographically, we could now imagine entire regions. Yes, there weren't many items and we didn't see any new mechanics, but now we had another unique theme that gave us more variation. Now we have an unlimited number of maps that we can change according to our mood, but back then there wasn't much choice. Next we were waiting for the anniversary update 20.0. The Christmas Miracle. And the update actually turned out to be very global in terms of items. It added a lot of interesting things. Just a huge number of items, such as trees and Christmas trees, which we have been waiting for so long, as well as adding a huge amount of clothing, such as Santa suit, elf, sweater, or just new shoes. This gave us more variation, because before there weren't that many clothes. Also, the developers gave us new materials that we could now color, and for the first time there was an event where we could pick up free MELS friends. It was actually a lot of fun. We went through tasks together, solved shitstorms, and got freebies. What could be better than that? Next version, 21.0. There's a new NPS from the vote. It is a canned tomato, which added new mechanics, because before there was no such thing. His head is literally a jar that can explode. There's also a new vote, which is basically a landmark vote. It's a poison map, a lava map, and an ice map. There were new ropes that were basically a new mechanics milestone, and you yourself could create unique ropes with unique mechanics. There was new transportation, and it's a truck. There were new blocks, and also the developers paid a lot of attention to the interface. Now it's actually been improved a lot of places. Update 22.0 is a complete change to the workshop. New categories have been added, and the approach has completely changed. Masses have been added, and now authors can literally earn for their work. Yes, the item update was sparse on items, but it's a very important update to the workshop that can't be overlooked. Version 23.0 is a legendary story update. First, a new map from the voting Poison map has been added. A new vote was launched, Infinite Ocean, Infinite City, and Planets. Also new scripts for the mod editor, new different items. And most importantly, the story has been added. A plot that amazes the imagination. Until now. Developers gave us the most real brain shaker, and it was very interesting. The community as if stirred up and united around a common task, to solve the most difficult puzzle, which I basically solved in my entire life. and it was very interesting. Update 24.0 turned out to be not so global and not so epical and interesting. However, the new achievements that everyone is so excited about were finally added. New animation for the atomic bomb was also added, which actually looks much better. And new materials have also been added, which are actually not bad and are still used everywhere. New items have also been added. They are the fire staff, as well as barrels that explode and gasoline flows out of there. Overall, a pretty average update, which is more of an intermediate update. In fact, there are no new mechanics. However, the new achievement interested absolutely all players. Update 25.0 came out one of the biggest, because the Infinite City came out. Added finally localization. Now we can finally look at the game in Russian. New mechanics of electricity and new mechanisms, which also certainly cannot help but please. Also now we can with the help of changelog, to see all the changes. And in general, in fact, this is a very important and global update, which is, in fact, also epical. And after this update, I'm seriously thinking about the fact that even on the level that Melon Playground is a phone game and People Playground is a PC version after all, but I'm almost convinced that Melon Playground is already several cases ahead. It's actually gotten better than People Playground. And you just think about it, yes, the graphics and stability is lame, but the number of new mechanics and the number of interesting and unique items is much stronger than People Playground, and that's the overtaking moment. Honestly, at that moment it seemed that it will not be better because the update 25.0 came out so cool and global that it really seemed that everything further we will only go down. But the developers surprised us even here, because they released update 26.0, which turned out to be even cooler and even more global. And even then it seemed that there was nothing more to surprise us. After all, in Update 26.0, they added the very chip that essentially set the vector of new mechanisms. It's basically a new processor, think about it. A new processor inside the game. Added new mechanisms and many interesting mechanisms, such as a camera or a TV for the camera. A lot of cool items like a new helicopter transport, a looter, a door, a radio. And you think about it, because this is not all. Many interesting items were added in Update 26.0, as well as new achievements, and new pass hacks, literally something incredible. The game has essentially started to turn into a full interactive system. Cameras, screens, triggers, you could now do traps, spy scenes, puzzles, basically, literally anything. But in Update 27.0, the developers decided to outdo themselves. They really jumped over the top, as far as I'm concerned, and added a new update that is basically even cooler than the previous one. Well, okay, maybe not cooler, but definitely on par. They added a lot of interesting pass hacks, like the nano assembler and achievements related to it. New interesting pass hacks like the secret box, with the resurrection sign that we all opened together. The continuation of the story and a lot of interesting items, like a map editor or just a barrel of poison, and new lab items that won the vote. Every time the developers, it seemed that everything, it's the end, they can't do better. They found something to surprise us, and I think it will happen again. After all, we are expecting the 28.0 update, which came out disappointing, of course. After such a peak, a slight decline began. 28.0 literally came out not so cool and disappointed us more, then it still managed to surprise us. After all, there was a weird workshop update, where we got new achievements, and to me, the update was more of a passing update, despite the events and all the attempts of the developers to surprise us. But Update 28.5 comes out, and 28.5 adds new ammo, and also music items, and really things get more or less fun. But I think it's not over yet. The developers will still find something to surprise us. Update 29.0, I assure you, will be very cool and very global, and we can only wait. From one map and one person was born a whole universe constructor. We laughed, experimented, got angry, and waited. From each version of Chalk played, it became bigger, more powerful, and more interesting. What will happen next? And that will be decided by you and me. With our voices, ideas, and crazy mods. It's not just a game, it's our story. Well, thank you for watching, good luck, goodbye everyone, and remember buddy, you are on Melonfonk channel as always. See you the other day.